Hi. I guess I'm going to make a series about dysfunctional families because there is so much that is encased in the word dysfunction. And I feel like we have so many experiences in life with dysfunction that no two stories could probably ever be the same. But we all walk around with these scars that are left by these dysfunctional, traumatic things that happen to us as children. And I wanted to share just some of my stories because I want to bring awareness to this as a thing. I think that a lot of people become very embarrassed about their childhood stories and people keep things in. And my point behind this is I want to bring a sense of understanding because there's a lot of sad things that overwhelm people. And I just recently made a video about a very beautiful young lady that was famous on TikTok. Her name is Desarius Schaefer. And she grew up in dysfunction. I'll put the link up on top for the video. I'm not going to get into it, but it made me think of all these dysfunctional things that I grew up with and the stories that applied to me. And I'm like, you know what? I am going to share some of them because I want people to share their stories in my comments because I want people to know they're not alone. So when they want to seek help or they need help, they know that there are people who experience these things in this world. Okay, so one that is super prominent in my mind because I don't know if I'll ever get the vision out of my head, but I was, I think, either 8 or 9 years old. Um, in videos, I discussed how my mother, I grew up with an alcoholic mother, and she was a single mom once she got custody of us back from foster care and shelters, which I've discussed in other videos as well. But it was a weekend, and I came out to the living room. She slept in the living room. I came out to the living room, and she wasn't there. I was like, "Where's mom?" I'm walking around, and we had lived on top of a storefront. So there was like a long alleyway that led to the doors where you would go up to the apartments. And then there was a stair, well, a set of stairs, very long set of stairs. And then it paired off, and there were two apartments. And we had the one apartment, and her brother, who was my uncle, had the other apartment. And he was a single guy. He was an alcoholic as well. He's passed away, but he was quite dysfunctional growing up. He was part of the puzzle a lot of the times. And I came out to the hallway thinking that if she was at my uncle's, I would have heard her. And I didn't hear anything. And it was very early in the morning. I started walking down the stairs because I thought, well, I got to go find my mom. And I was concerned. It was out of a place of compassion and concern as a child. And I turned down the stairs and I saw my mom's naked body at the bottom of the stairwell by the door that led outside. And it was very traumatizing for me because I don't think I had ever seen my mom naked like that. And she was lying on the floor, and I thought she was dead. Now, and this is why I'm saying I don't think I'm ever gonna heal from that memory because that does something to a child. And I never feared that until that very moment that it was put in my head at that moment. And I flew down the stairs thinking my mom was dead. I was already hysterical crying. And when I got down to the bottom of the stairs and I started touching my mom, she rolled over in this drunken freaking state and was like, get off of me, whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, you're alive. What do you mean I'm alive? Of course I'm alive. And totally didn't even acknowledge how that affected me. And these crazy things happen when we're children and we grow up alongside drug addicted parents, alcoholic parents. I know I've talked about my brother. I made a video about him and how dysfunctional he was. in one particular instance. But besides that happening in my life, and I'll put the link up below if you didn't watch that, um, he was also a like black belt when he was in foster care. The foster family he stayed with sent him to some martial arts something. So he came back not only as whacked out as he was, but now he's friggin' trained to whoop ass. And yeah, I used to endure the craziest ass whoopings from that brother. And I remember one time, again, these are like things that I are very traumatic, so I still remember them very well. That he was like telling me he's gonna kick my ass, and I turned around. I must have been around 9 or 10. I turned around and I was running away from him, and he did this like Chung Li, if you remember Street Fighter, type of kick in the air and kicked me straight in the middle of my back. And it was the first time I ever had the wind knocked out of me. And I thought I was going to die, which is why that memory is so fresh in my mind. And as I lied on the floor gasping for air because I couldn't even breathe, he was like stomping me as that was happening. And I remember running once I caught my breath to the window, like sticking my head out the window, screaming, "Help, help, help." And there was a neighbor that lived in the building across from us, that her windows were facing our windows. And she was kind enough to come, and she had to actually come into my apartment to get me because my brother wouldn't let me leave. And I was like, please, he's not letting me leave. And she was like telling me to come over, and she had to come and physically get me. And that was just, one instant. And I know I talked about, and I said I'm going to put the link up on top, but this is the brother who used to rape me as a child. And he was a very scary person to live alongside. My sister was the oldest, and my sister and one of my brothers used to argue a lot. And I remember him stomping on her face, and I still have this vision in my mind because I thought he was killing her, and I thought she was going to die, because who stomps on someone's face with both feet? And he had his arms up on the walls to give him that leverage. It was sick. And I grew up with all the doors off the hinges, because if he didn't get his way, he was ripping doors down. I mean, he was out of control. He lit a building on fire in town because he said a kitten ran inside the window and he couldn't get it. So he figured he'd just burn the whole building down. What? There's a lot of dysfunction that we live through in life when we are brought up in these type of environments. I have a friend of mine I was just having a conversation with today. I was like, it's like we're raised by animals that have the gift of bringing life into this world, and they don't even know how to live life themselves. And the stuff that they allow around us growing up cultivate us with these horrific memories when you grow up around dysfunction and abuse. So I want people to talk about this. I want this to be something that is not taboo. I want people to know that other people have relatable stories and they're not alone when they reach these really sad times in life. So again, please comment below and let's talk about this stuff. I'm sending you my love.